Chapter 11, page 283 to page 291. In one attack, our company commander, Bertink, falls. He was one of those superb frontline officers who are foremost in every hot place. He was with us for 2 years without being wounded, so that something had to happen in the end. We occupy a crater and get surrounded. The stink of petroleum or oil blows across with the fumes of powder. Two fellows with a flamethrower are seen. One carries the tin on his back, and the other has the hose in his hands from which the fire spouts. If they get so near that they can reach us, we are done for. We cannot retreat yet. We open fire on them, but they work nearer and things begin to look bad. Bertink is lying in the hole with us. When he sees that we cannot hit them because under the sharp fire we have to think too much about keeping under cover, he takes a rifle, crawls out of the hole, and lying down, propped on his elbows, he takes aim. He fires. The same moment a bullet smacks into him. They have got him. Still he lies and aims again. Once he shifts and again takes aim. At last the rifle cracks. Berting lets the gun drop and says, "Good," and slips back into the hole. The hindermost of the two flamethrowers is hit. He falls, and the hose slips away from the other fellow. The fire squirts about on all sides, and the man burns. Bertink has a chest wound. After a while, a fragment smashes away his chin, and the same fragment has sufficient force to tear open Lear's hip. Lear groans as he supports himself on his arm. He bleeds quickly. No one can help him. Like an emptying tube, after a couple of minutes, he collapses. What use is it to him now that he was such a good mathematician at school? Page 284. The months pass by. The summer of 1918 is the most bloody and the most terrible. The days stand like angels in blue and gold, incomprehensible above the ring of annihilation. Every man here knows that we are losing the war. Not much is said about it. We are falling back. We will not be able to attack again after this big offensive. We have no more men and no more ammunition. Still, the campaign goes on. The dying goes on. Summer of 1918. Never has life in its awfulness seemed to us so desirable as now. The red poppies in the meadows round our billets, the smooth beetles on the blade of grass, the warm evenings in the cool, dim rooms, the black mysterious trees of the twilight, the stars and the flowing waters, dreams and long sleep. Oh, life, life, life. Summer of 1918. Never was so much silently suffered as in the moment when we depart once again for the front line. Wild, tormenting rumors of an armistice and peace are in the air. They lay hold on our hearts and make the return to the front harder than ever. Summer of 1918. Never was life in the line more bitter and full of horror than in the hours of the bombardment, when the blanched faces lie in the dirt and the hands clutch at the one thought. No, no, not now at the last moment. Summer of 1918. Breath of hope that sweeps over the scorched fields, raging fever of impatience, of disappointment, of the most agonizing terror of death. Insensate question. Why? Why do they make an end? And why do these rumors of an end fly about? Page 286. There are so many airmen here, and they are so sure of themselves that they give chase to single individuals just as though they were hares. For every one German plane, there come at least 5 English and American. For one hungry, wretched German soldier come 5 of the enemy, fresh and fit. For one German army loaf, there are 50 tins of canned beef over there. We are not beaten, for as soldiers we are better and more experienced. We are simply crushed and driven back by overwhelming superior forces. Behind us lay rainy weeks, gray sky, gray fluid earth, gray dying. If we go out, the rain at once soaks through our overcoat and clothing. We remain wet all the time. We are in the line. We never get dry. Those who will wear high boots tie sandbags around the tops so that the mud does not pour in so fast. The rifles are caked, the uniforms caked, everything is fluid and dissolved. The earth one dripping, soaked, oily mass in which lie yellow pools with red spiral streams of blood, and into which the dead, wounded, and survivors slowly sink down. The storm lashes us. Out of the confusion of gray and yellow, the hail of splinters whips forth the childlike cries of the wounded, and in the night, shattered life groans painfully into silence. Our hands are earth, our bodies clay, and our eyes pools of rain. We do not know whether we still live. Page 287. Then the heat sinks heavily into our shell holes like a jellyfish, moist and oppressive, and on one of those late summer days, while bringing food, Cat falls. We two are alone. I bind up his wound. His shin seems to be smashed. It has got the bone, and Cat groans desperately. At last, just at the last. I comfort him. Who knows how long this mess will go on yet? Now you are saved. The wound begins to bleed fast. Cat cannot be left by himself while I try to find a stretcher. Anyway, I don't know of a stretcher-bearer's post in the neighborhood. Cat is not very heavy, so I take him on my back and start off to the dressing station with him. Twice we rest. He suffers acutely on the way. We do not speak much. I have opened the collar of my tunic and breathe heavily. I sweat, and my face is swollen with the strain of carrying. All the same, I urge him to let us go on, for the place is dangerous. Shall we go on, Cat? Shall we go on again, Cat? Must, Paul. Page 288. Then come. I raise him up. He stands on the uninjured leg and supports himself against a tree. I take up the wounded leg carefully. Then he gives a jump. I take the knee of the sound leg also under my arm. The going is more difficult. Often a shell whistles across. I go as quickly as I can, for the blood from Cat's wound drips to the ground. We cannot shelter ourselves properly for the explosions. Before we can take cover, the danger is all over. We lie down in a small hole to wait till the shelling is over. I give Cat some tea from my water bottle. We smoke a cigarette. Well, Cat, I say gloomily, we are going to be separated at last. He is silent and looks at me. Do you remember, Cat, how we commandeered the Goose, and how you brought me out of the barrage when I was still a young recruit and was wounded for the first time? I cried then. Cat, that is almost 3 years ago. He nods. The anguish of solitude rises up in me. When Cat is taken away, I will not have one friend left. Cat, in any case, we must see one another again if it is peacetime before you come back. Do you think that I will be marked A1 again with this leg? He asked bitterly. With rest, it will get better. The joint is quite sound. It may get all right again. Give me another cigarette, he says. Perhaps we could do something together later on, Cat. I am very miserable. It is impossible that Cat, my friend, Cat with the drooping shoulders and the poor thin mustache, Cat whom I know as I know no other man, Cat with whom I have shared these years, it is impossible that perhaps I shall not see Cat again. In any case, give me your address at home, Cat, and here is mine. I will write it down for you. I write his address in my pocketbook. How forlorn I am already, though he still sits here beside me. Couldn't I shoot myself quickly in the foot so as to be able to go with him? Suddenly, Cat gurgles and turns green and yellow. Let us go on, he stammers. I jump up, eager to help him. I take him up and start off at a run, a slow, steady pace, so as not to jolt his leg too much. My throat is parched. Everything dances, red and black before my eyes. I staggered on doggedly and pitilessly, and at last reached the dressing station. There I drop on my knees, but have still enough strength to fall onto the side where Cat's sound leg is. After a few minutes, I straighten myself up again. My legs and my hands tremble. I have trouble in finding my water bottle to take a pull. My lips tremble as I try to think, but I smile. Cat is saved. Page 290. After a while, I begin to sort out the confusion of voices that falls on my ears. You might have spared yourself that, says an orderly. I look at him without comprehending. He points to Cat. He is stone dead. I do not understand him. He has been hit in the shin, I say. The orderly stands still. That is well. I turn round. My eyes are still dulled. The sweat breaks out on me again. It runs over my eyelids. I wipe it away and peer at Cat. He lies still. Fainted, I say quickly. The orderly whistles softly. I know better than that. He is dead. I'll lay any money on that. I shake my head. Not possible. Only 10 minutes ago I was talking to him. He has fainted. Cat's hands are warm. I pass my hand under his shoulders in order to rub his temples with some tea. I feel my fingers become moist. As I draw them away from behind his head, they are bloody. You see, the orderly whistles once through his teeth. On the way, without my having noticed it, Cat has caught a splinter in the head. There is just one little hole. It must have been a very tiny stray splinter, but it has sufficed. Cat is dead. Slowly I get up. Would you like to take his pay book and his things? The lance corporal asks me. I nod, and he gives them to me. The order is mystified. You are not related, are you? No, we are not related. No, we are not related. Do I walk? Have I feet still? I raise my eyes. I let them move round and turn myself with them. One circle, and I stand in the midst. All is usual. Only the militiaman Stanislaus Kozenski has died. And then I know nothing more.